All right, welcome. So, as per our promise, we are going to be doing October, November 2021 International Finance. But, well, most of us were not able to attend, but it's okay. It's okay. I think I'm just going to give us the memo here. So, I've prepared it here on the side. I think I was busy with it just now in preparation for the class. So, I'm just going to label this out. All right, CS at and then international finance. So I think we are basically going to be looking at our strategy, right? We are basically going to be looking at our strategy for the upcoming exam. So I'm just going to right. It's all good. I'm just going to share this after the session. All right. So I've put up all the questions here. So the only things that I didn't do, let's put here and say memo with no graphs. Right. It's a memo with no graphs. So we are basically just excluding the graphs here. All right, so since we have our group running there, which is pretty much going to be running on the day of the exam. So this is where we are going to be doing our thing in the group. But what's important now, because we need to have a look at these solutions and then see where we can edit, where they need to do some editing. So I'm just going to be going through that here. So for us, fetching the information is very easy. Getting the information is very easy. I most of the time have most of the solutions for these here, right? But now how you edit it on your side has got to do with how you are understanding the question and how you are able to change the wording or change the gist of what's written there and still be relevant and still have answered the question. All right, so question one. So this is 2 hours. This is 2 hours, by the way. And it's question one up until, I think it's between 8 and 9, thereabouts. So it's quite a lot of questions, but not much to do. So it's a lot easier for you to type because on my side, I'm going to be typing. So if you want to edit what I'm doing, then I'm very much going to be sending that on 2 versions of that, one on Microsoft Word and the other on PDF for you to edit out some things, editing some things. But what's important again is what we are doing today, how to stay relevant when you are editing, right? I almost said auditing. So when you're editing, I'm going to be done quickly by the next 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to be done. So the first thing to do, explain with reference to a graph. So when it comes to these graphs, it's probably going to be the last thing that I will do and the last thing that we will do, but it carries a lot of marks because it shows that we understand the concept. So if a question says with reference to a graph, this time 2021 in particular, we were not requested to draw graphs. We would actually just make reference to a graph in the text. You can say it's on fig such and such, such and such a page, etc. That was very easy. We could have done that. But now, I think as of last year, and last year was 2022, right? As of last year, 2022, they would want you to draw the graph. Okay, they would want you to draw the graph. So the lecturers for ECS 3702 and last semester they were saying you have to hand draw the graph, and then after hand drawing the graph, you can then paste it, take a picture of it and paste it on your Microsoft Word document. So if that's the case now, if we're going to be hand drawing the graph, then it makes it a lot more flexible now when it comes to editing those graphs. It comes a lot more flexible now. It gives us a very good chance now. Unlike if we are going to be drawing these graphs, it's a little bit, when I draw graphs here, I actually use this insert here where I come here to shapes and then I'm taking straight lines some curved lines there rotating them. So it pretty much takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. So which is why I normally do that last. So which I am going to do that again. But since we're gonna be pretty fast this time around, I am gonna do that. But now the thing is, once I've drawn that, to protect that image, to protect what I've drawn there, to protect the graph, I'll have to take a screenshot, right, of that graph. I basically use the snipping tool, right? I basically use a snipping tool there, and then on that snipping tool, I just take it and paste it there. All right. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. All right. Just give me a second. I'm just responding to a quick message here. All right. So I just do a snipping tool and then I paste it there. So what you need to be checking now when it comes to these that have got graphs and words, let's just go through this. Yeah, explain with reference of a graph the effect of adverse shocks in an economy. So first of all, what are adverse shocks? So I always talk about this when we are tackling these questions. We need to start off by showing the markers that we understand what we are talking about there. So I am going to do that again. Adverse shocks are events that reduce the availability or increase the cost of key inputs used in the production process, such as labor, raw materials, or energy. So here, if you have examples of your own, it's always good to put in examples of your own. Right. So these shocks can have significant effects on an economy, particularly on its output, prices, and unemployment level. So obviously here we are talking about the ASAD curve. So this is second level stuff. This is second level stuff. So we are not going to have a problem on that. So when it comes to stuff like, one way to visualize the effect of adverse is through a graph. So this one, you can obviously edit this out and say maybe a graph can be used to depict, right, supply shocks, adverse supply shocks. A graph can be used to depict that, because obviously this is when we say one way to visualize the effect of this. This is something that's a little bit words that are not used by every student. So once a couple of students have the same thing, then it's obvious that the source is the same. Right. So such sentences then can either be edited or you can simply remove it. Right. You can simply remove it. So one way that I would have done that is the aggregate, the AS and AD curve can depict, right, can basically depict the effect of supply shocks. So that's one way that can be put there, or we can use the ASAD model, right, to show the effect of supply shocks. Right? That's one way in which you can edit such a statement. So you see, it's not everything that you need to edit, right? You basically need to edit key things, right? Key things, but you are not losing the meaning, just changing the English. You see, even here on the first one, use examples of your own, right? If you don't want that, take out one example or simply such as energy, one that you are aware of. You see, maybe say such as raw materials like oil, you see, raw materials like lithium, etc., whatever raw materials you can think of. Then again, if you don't like this definition, you can put a definition of your own. Just tell them if the definition is correct. So you're already now personalizing the work. Guideline now shows you, okay, here the definition was given. Do I have a definition of my own? If you do, put your own definition. If you don't have a definition of your own, then edit that definition and put it in your own words. Okay. So here now you realize that when we talk about output and prices and employment levels and output is on the x-axis, so it's just the same thing, and then prices is on the y-axis. So we are basically now describing the AS and the AD curve, right? And then the AS curve represents the total. Now watch the detail with which this is coming now. The AS curve represents the total output that producers are willing and able to supply different price levels, while the AD curve represents the total quantity of goods and services that consumers are willing and able to purchase different price levels, right? So this here, there is a better definition than this. So let me put this in red. Okay, there is a better definition than this. So how do I know that? I teach macroeconomics, so we can obviously get a better definition than this. So how do you go about that? If you do not know, you can simply Google this thing. You have enough time in the exam. You can. I'll make sure that you have enough time for that. You can simply Google the difference between the AS curve and the AD curve. So Google should basically give you what the AS curve represents and what the AD curve represents. All right. So AS curve is okay. Even AD curve, what's good about this is basically giving us aggregates, right? It's basically giving us aggregate. So it's pretty much okay. So it's aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So that's perfect there. So that's what you can edit out there. You see how easy it is to edit this thing out. It's good because if you're going to be on Google, if you're going to be typing this, you can simply go on Google on the other page and then simply. But what I'll do, I think, to make it easier for us, I just don't want to confuse people now because not everyone is attending the session. So sometimes I might end up confusing people. But what I could do, I could have, say, a definition here, things that I want us to edit. I could have, like in this instance, I'm just saying this is a simple definition, differentiating definition of AS curve and the AD curve. So I can use a different color for another definition. So put this in red so that no one copies this. Put another definition, say in, or just another color, another different color then, so that you guys have got options now to either take the one that's in red, take the one that is in blue, without having to disturb the meaning of what we are doing here, you see. So that I can also do that for us. So a typical scenario now, this is where your imagination comes into play because we don't have a graph. There's a graph that you need to draw now. A typical scenario now, the economy is initially at equilibrium point A. So this, I'm going to draw the graph. So when we are editing this now, instead of point A, put point X, put point X so that we all don't have point A. So we are going to say, suppose, so instead of saying in a typical scenario, you can say, suppose the economy, yes, right, you can say, suppose the economy is initially at equilibrium at point X. Right now, you are deviating from what's written there, where the AS and AD curves intersect. Right. So this is okay. And then the price level is P1. So price level, we always want to use P1. So let me show you something here. Normally, how I would do this in an exam, I'll come here P and then put that there and then put A1 so that I have that little P1 there. So this has to be consistent now with your graph. So where you get into trouble now is when the information that's given there is not consistent. Sorry, is not consistent there with your graph. For instance, your words here are saying point A, but when we go to the graph, we can't find point A. Instead, we find point X. You see now where the problem is. So you are now explaining a different graph that somebody else drew. You see. So if you are gonna take my graphs, don't take all of them, right? Don't take all of them. You can take one or two, preferably not the first graph because this is the first question. People are panicking when your marker opens your script. They have the first page there immediately. They have the first page staring at them right in front of them, so you don't have to take that as it is. So just take that and say that's point X. Put that as X. So make sure that when you are drawing your graph, then you put that on wherever I hit my point A, then you must have your point X. Then you are replacing that with the points that you are thinking of. So, however, if there's an adverse supply shock such such as a sudden increase in the oil price or a disruption in the supply of raw materials. So here, remember the examples that you used there, so you can basically do that there. So in terms of labor, you're looking at a situation where there has been a strike, you see, maybe a lockdown, where now the labor force has been severely curtailed, right? We can't all go to work now, so which means the supply curve is gonna shift to the left real fast. So the AS curve shifts leftward. So you are saying now the AS curve shifts to the left, right? Isn't this easy? This is very easy. So as a result of the leftward shift, the new equilibrium is on point B. Now you are saying it's on point Y, where the AS and the AD curves intersect. So now, what you would do now, typically, if I have a graph on this, I'm gonna show the movement. I think the last solution that I'm gonna provide for this, I'm gonna literally draw this. I don't know if I have time. Unfortunately, I don't have much time now because of the exams and assignments. But I'll actually have to show. All right, forgive that now. I need to hang this up. At 8. Sorry about that. I have a lot of assignments today. A lot of assignments today, so I took a break to do this. Right. So once we are talking of a shift now, when we say the AS curve is shifting, so we want to see now on the graph that we want to have AS1, right? So now we are going to be using this same, I think we call them subscripts. Yeah? We're going to be using the same subscripts there. So the AS curve shifts leftwards. Then now you can edit and say from AS1, sorry, from AS, starting off because we have AS and AD there. So from AS to AS, so this is where I get that little thing there. That one is on top. If you want, this one goes at the bottom. If you want the one that goes on top, it's that one there, to AS1. So this is what we are going to be representing there. You see now your work is already different from what I initially posted. So as a result of the leftward shift, the new equilibrium is point Y, where the AS, so now we are saying where AS curve, so where curve AS1, so now you can say where curve AS1 and AD intersect. So at a higher price, now the price that's there is going to be P2, right? And the lower output level now of Y2. That's very easy. So you can already imagine this, what's going on. So which means whatever graph I'm going to provide now, you are following up on all these points to see, okay, where is your AS1? So AS is standard, it's aggregate supply, right? That one doesn't change, and AT is aggregate demand. So you're simply changing the points. P, it's also wise to use P for price. Okay, so you can always keep that one as it is. All right, so this is because the aggregate supply shocks has reduced the availability or increased the cost of key inputs used in the process, leading to a decrease in the quantity of goods and services that the producers are willing and able to supply at a given price. So here, I think the best thing to use instead of the quantity of goods and services will be the supply of goods and services. Let me edit this out. It's more correct now to say the supply. Why so? Normally, when we are referring to quantities, a decrease in quantity is as a result of a change in the price. You see, it's as a result of a change in price. But when we refer to a decrease in the supply now, it's a shift because we are talking about this curve shifting. So it's more appropriate now to use that there. So the decrease quantity demanded is okay. It changes that one. So which is, now that I've said reduces the quantity demanded, so you can as well say the aggregate. because we are dealing with aggregates here. It's macroeconomics. Aggregate quantity demanded by consumers leading to a demand. So aggregate quantity is okay here because the demand curve is not shifting, it's just the supply curve that shifts. So on the demand, aggregate demand curve, it's a movement along that curve. So which means the variable there is a quantity. So in addition to the lower output level, the adverse shock also results in higher prices. So which is here you can then add that as we can see that P2 is greater than P1 because now, sorry, it's we started off on P, right? I believe. Let's see. Actually, we're on AS and AD intersecting on P1, right? Then now it moved to P2. So you can then say P2 is greater than P1. So if this is what I did, then you can make this your P1 and make that one P so that it's different, okay? So in addition to lower output, results in higher prices, then you can explain, show us there that as seen there that P2 is higher than P1, which can lead to inflationary pressures in the economy. So this can have a range of negative consequences, including reduced consumer purchasing power, high borrowing costs, and reduced economic growth. So these are the effects of inflation. So you can Google some other effects of inflation to add there. And you remove maybe two and put one of your own or two of your own. So this situation here now, so overall adverse shocks can have a significant and lasting effect on the economy, highlighting the importance of maintaining stable and predictable supply chains and promoting policies that supply the resilience of key industries. So if you have studied this well now, you will know that this scenario that's being described here is called stagflation, right? So you can look it up again and just say adverse supply shocks cause stagflation, right? So this is sudden, by the way. We are looking at a COVID situation now where supply has been disrupted suddenly. That's what we are looking at this. So you see how easy it is to, if you know what you're doing now in constant that people are going to understand this. We're gonna implement this thing of giving us options here, especially in terms of definitions. You see, giving us options, giving us different words that we can use, but in a different color. Just to let people know that if you're gonna go for this word, then delete the red and stick with the blue. You see, so it's that simple. Because I think I'm gonna be having it anyway. All right, then question 2 will be done in 3 minutes. Question 2 was the J-curve, right? The J-curve, let me see if your people are about to join now and we are almost done. Oh, okay. Right. The J-curve, right? The J-curve pretty much looks like this. I think we had an example of the J-curve last session, right? So explain the J-curve and how it happens. So the J-curve is a phenomenon. So the J-curve phenomenon occurs due to several factors. In the short term, currency depreciation leads to higher import prices and lower export prices. So we spoke about that in the last class. This makes imports more expensive and exports cheaper, leading to an initial deterioration in the trade balance. So here you can, okay, additionally, existing trade contracts may take time to adjust to the new exchange rate, which also contributes to the initial worsening of the trade balance. So this is what we were talking about there. Sometimes it's not just contracts that you have. I think in the last session, we're talking about generally that if you're used to buying things from Shane, for instance, I don't know how you pronounce that, is it Shine or Shane? You can't just stop buying merely because the price has gone up. Sometimes you try and hang on for a while. You see, up until the budget starts hitting home. You see, up until your spouse starts complaining, then that's when you can let go of that. So which means initially the imports are going to be high. See, so that is why it worsens. So this is normally done, describes a situation where we are deliberately devaluing our currency to boost trade. Okay, actually to boost trade balance. So we are specifically describing a situation how that first worsens before it can get better. So it's what we call the Marshall-Lerner theory. Theory has to hold here for that to happen. So, however, over time, the lower exchange rates makes a country's exports more competitive, leading to an increase in demand for exports. At the same time, higher import prices decrease the demand for goods. These factors lead to an improvement in the trade balance in the long run, all right, resulting in an upward part of the J curve. So ideally now we will be having a picture of the J curve. Okay. So it's important to note that the length and the shape of the J curve can vary depending on the country's economic conditions. So here, just remove it's important. Just write the length and the shape of the J curve can vary depending on the country's economic conditions, the flexibility of the exchange rate regime, and the structure of its economy. So additionally, the J curve effect may not always occur, right, or may be obscured by other economic factors that influence trade balance. You see. So here, of course, what we could add here is in order for this to work, right? In order for this to work, you pretty much have to, the Marshall-Lerner condition needs to apply. All right, so I think we'll proceed with this now on our next session. So please confirm when the exam is, so I decide if we should quicken this up or not. Right, if we should quicken this up or not. So I'm gonna save this here because I did this today also after Londani said we should do, after Londani said we should do this. Okay, no, let me just save this. Right, as I'm gonna put it on my desktop here. Right, so I'm gonna provide this maybe once we are done here. ECS 3723. Right. I don't know what I should do. File name not valid. All right. Okay, let's give it a better name and remove these things here. Right. Hey, why is it not deleting? Right. I'm not gonna say with no graphs because I'm gonna add graphs. Hopefully I'm gonna add graphs on that. Okay, sorry. We need to take this part out. Right. Okay. No, I feel like I'm wasting time now. Right, let's do this here. So let's just say October 2020. Hello? Hello? Hello?
I speak. You are stupid. Don't.